Well, good morning. I hope your Sunday is off to a good start. Honoring this country's veterans for their service is something that deserves our support. This morning we'll be talking about a special project that does just that. It starts right now.
From TV6, this is The Ryan Report. Here's your host, Don Ryan.
You know, there's a project that's been recognizing Upper Peninsula veterans since 2011. It's called the UP Honor Flight, and it has produced memorable experiences for many UP veterans. I thought the best way to find out more about it and the organization that makes it possible was to talk to the president of that group, the UP Honor Flight, Scott Knopf. Scott, welcome to the Ryan Report. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you here. You know, just right off the bat, give us just a brief overview of what the program is.
All right, it's a one-day trip out to Washington, D.C. We fly out of Escanaba, and we fly out at 6:30 a.m. We tour 11 different memorials throughout the day, and then we fly back into Escanaba the same day.
Okay.
So this one-day trip shows the veterans the memorials that have been built in their honor.
And as I understand it, the UP Honor Flight has been at it since 2011.
Correct. September of 2011 was the first mission. Now this past May, we just finished mission 14 with a total of 1,069 veterans from every county in the Upper Peninsula that have gone with us.
That's amazing. And you've been in charge now since 2015?
In November 2015, Barb Van Roy, who started the Upper Peninsula Honor Flight, she decided to retire. So that's when we took over. And so it's been going strong, and we've got a long wait list.
You're not a veteran yourself, but you're still very much involved in this program.
Yeah, surprisingly, I am not a veteran, but I was able to go on Mission 5 as a guardian, and I was hooked. I just loved the program and what it does for veterans, and so I just want to be involved with it. It's the best job. I have the best job ever.
And when you say you have the best job, this really isn't a job, is it? I mean,
No.
It's a job, but you're not paid to do this job.
No, it's all volunteer. We are 100% volunteer, 100% donation driven, and a lot of people think that we are funded by the government, which is not true.
Okay. So do you do some other work on the side?
I do. I
Put
do
bread
have
on the
another,
table, as they say?
a regular job that puts bread on the table, yes.
But this must take a lot of your time, especially as these flights approach.
It does take quite a bit of time, yes.
Okay. You know, I was looking at some of the history, and this is really part of a national program, isn't it?
It is. There's 146 hubs in 45 different states. So altogether, all the hubs have taken over 200,000 veterans out to DC to see these memorials. The first honor flight happened in September of 2005. It was Earl Morris in Ohio who started it. He was a PA working at a VA, and as the World War II memorial got done, he was asking his World War II patients if they were going to go see this memorial that was built in their honor. And they all wanted to, but he soon realized at their age, they were not going to plan a family vacation. And Earl belonged to an aerospace club. So he went to his club and he asked them if they would use their own planes, pay all the expenses to pay these veterans out to DC to see the memorial. So in September of 2005, there were 6 little planes that brought 12 World War II veterans out there, and that was the beginning of Honor Flight.
That's amazing. And you said how many have gone now since then?
Over 200,000 with all the hubs together.
200,000.
Yeah.
That really is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk a little more about specifically what happens. Now, these veterans get on an airplane at 6:30 in the morning. Are they all there bright and early and ready to go?
They are. We're at the motel at 5 a.m. and we get them loaded up on the buses, and we have a procession through Escanaba to the airport. Then we get on the plane and we fly out at 6:30 a.m. and it's only an hour and 30-minute flight over to Washington, D.C. Because it's a direct flight. We charter a 737, which is 162 passenger. So it's a direct flight. We fly right into Reagan, get off the plane, get loaded up onto 3 tour buses, and we start our day. Now, we do have a police escort that we pay for. It is very well worth it. The veterans just love watching the police escort. They block traffic. We do not stop at stop signs. We don't stop at stop signals. We just fly, and we go to the memorials and we see them.
I haven't been there in a long time, but I do know that years ago it was very difficult to drive in Washington.
It's ridiculous, but it's standstill traffic, but these cops are able to push the traffic aside, and we just go right through.
So you would probably have to spend 3 days out there if you didn't have the
Oh,
escorts.
absolutely. Yeah. There are some hubs that don't pay the extra for the police escort, but they don't see as many memorials as what we do in one day.
And you say you do put the veterans up the night before at a motel in Escanaba?
That is the one expense that the veterans have to cover themselves, but we have a banquet the night before right at the Quality Inn in Escanaba, and so I encourage most veterans to stay right there since we're there. And then the next morning, that's where we start up with the buses again to get to the airport.
Okay, we'll talk some more about what they do in Washington in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on today's show in just 2 minutes from now. Our guest this morning is Scott Knopf. He's with the UP Honor Flight. We were talking about what the Honor Flight is all about. Tell us in a little more detail what the veterans actually get to see when they get to Washington.
Well, the first memorial we go to is the World War II, and that's where we get our group picture. And we do get off the buses. We give them time to actually walk around and see the depictions in it. There's so many different parts to that memorial. You really have to walk around to understand everything there. So we give them about an hour to walk around and see the memorial. Then we load up on the buses and we will give them a tour down the mall to show them different buildings in DC, show them the Capitol, the President's House, the Navy Memorial we drive by. If there's time in our schedule that day, we will stop and give them a little bit of time there. And then we go up to the other end of the mall to the Lincoln, the Vietnam, and the Korean memorials. So we give them time to get off the bus and walk around and see those 3 different memorials. After that, we will cross the Potomac into Arlington Cemetery, where we get off the bus and we watch the changing of the guard at the cemetery. And after that, then we go right next door to the Iwo Jima Memorial and tour that. And then on the other side of the Arlington Cemetery is the Air Force Memorial. And at one of those memorials, I organize a drill team to come and do a presentation for us.
So you're but you're in charge of shepherding them around through all these stops on this trip.
Yep, I'm the one that organizes everything in DC that day.
And after you've done it a time or two, it probably gets to be kind of routine, but still, it has to be a little worrisome to do that.
I got my checklist. Make sure I don't forget anything.
And again, I want to emphasize that there's no cost to the veteran for any of this, is there?
No, this is absolutely free for the veteran to go on the flight. The only cost is the motel room the night before if they stay there. But we give them a t-shirt, a hat, a jacket, their airfare, their meals for the day, the banquet the night before, all the plane ride, the bus rides, everything is covered in this.
How do you feed them during the day when you're out there in Washington?
Well, we give them a full breakfast on the plane on the way out there, and then we have a sack lunch that's delivered to us when we're at the Korean Memorial. And then at night when they're boarding the plane, then we give them another lunch that they can eat on once they're in their seat on the plane.
They must be tired by the time they get back.
They are very tired. It's a very long day. We start getting them up at 4 a.m. and by the time they leave the airport in Escanaba that night, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, so it's a very long day for them.
Certainly, are you under the same rules as the National Honor Flight? I know there are certain qualifications that people have to meet. Is this the same everywhere, or do you set your own rules on this? Or?
Corporate gives us guidelines that we follow.
Okay.
Because we were done with the Korean veterans, we didn't have enough to fill the planes. That's when our hub was able to open it up in 2015 in November. No, sorry, November of 2016. That's when we opened it up to include the Vietnam veterans. So instead of being from 1941 until 1955, we included until May of 75. So that's all of Vietnam veterans now. So we are looking for any veterans who served between 1941 and May of 1975. And it does not matter whether you served overseas or in the States, and it does not matter if it was wartime or peacetime. If you served during 1941 and May of 75, you are eligible to get our application, send that in, and we will get you on a flight.
What do you encounter as far as veterans who are a little concerned about whether or not they should make that decision? What kind of concerns do they have?
They just don't want to go. The Vietnam veterans don't want to face that wall. They got bad memories, but they don't realize that this is not a family vacation. This is a trip of therapy. And that's what the veterans, before they go on the flight, don't understand. And I hear it continuously from veterans that have gone with us, that they are so glad that they went. Their wife signed them up. They fought it all the way. They didn't want to go. They went, and it's the best trip they ever did.
I think I read one article about one of the veterans coming back and saying it was like a weight lifted off his shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a veteran who came and saw me this spring. He was on the flight last September, and he did not want to go. His wife signed him up, but he went just to make her be quiet. So he went on the flight. He said it's the best trip he's ever done. He had 50 years of bad memories and bad feelings that he was able to leave on that plane when he got off that night in Escanaba.
That's great. There has to be a lot of camaraderie among the group too, since they have some things in common.
There is. Because they're all veterans, they all have their songs that they can sing. But yeah, it's just it's a whole different feeling on that plane. And since we have the whole plane to ourselves, we can do whatever we want. We grab the mic, and if they want to sing, we can do anything.
Okay, we'll talk some more in just a couple of minutes. Back with more on the Ryan Report just 2 minutes from now. Again, this morning we're talking with Scott Knopf from the UP Honor Flight. Scott, when is your next trip?
September 18th is our next flight. We are full, of course. There's about 320 people on the wait list right now. Okay. So we're about 2.5 years out. Okay. But we give preference to World War II veterans, and then to the Korean veterans, and then any Vietnam veteran that is terminal, we'll give them preference to get them on a flight.
And that reminds me, you are able to accommodate people with some physical disabilities, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, we bring a doctor with us. We've got 2 medics with us. Because we have 3 buses, there's a medical person on each bus. We take 45 wheelchairs with us. So in the morning, if they don't want to use a wheelchair, that's fine. But throughout the day, because it's very humid out there, the wheelchair is right there for them when they are ready for it.
If since you have such a big waiting list, people should still probably get on it if they're interested.
Oh, absolutely. When the application comes into us, we date it, and we go according to the oldest date. We'll go first.
Okay. Except for the veterans being the World War II and the Korean War veterans.
Correct.
How do you support all of this?
Well, being up here in the Upper Peninsula, we don't have big corporate sponsors like other hubs do in the cities. So this is the mom and pop shops that are doing fundraisers for us. This is the only organization I know of where people will put their time and effort into a fundraiser for someone else. It's amazing. There are fundraisers going on all the time. Just yesterday morning, I was watching the news, and there was people this weekend putting a picnic on, and the proceeds are going to the UP Honor Flight. So it's amazing how the whole UP supports us, and we are very fortunate because if we had to do all the fundraising ourselves also, plus organize 2 flights, it probably would not get done.
Well, and as you point out, you have no staff. You're all volunteers.
Correct.
So all this fundraising is not coordinated necessarily.
No.
It's just groups doing things
We
individually.
do appreciate when people do call us and tell us beforehand, though. We've had some people just do fundraisers and we didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
So if they call us beforehand and just let us know, because we will try and get to the event sometime throughout that day.
Okay. I noticed you have I know you have a web page.
Yep.
uphonorflight.org.
Yes, sir.
And that would provide some additional information about donating.
Absolutely. You can go to our website and you can donate, but that's also where you're going to find the applications on the website for the veteran and for the guardian.
And we didn't cover that, but let's talk about that. You can take what you're calling a guardian with you.
Yep, a guardian has to be between 18 and 65. It cannot be a spouse, and they do pay a $500 donation to go on the flight, and that helps us pay for the plane. And every veteran is going to have a guardian. Now that we are getting into Vietnam veterans that are more able-bodied, we do not have to match them up one-on-one. For this next flight, we actually have 85 veterans going on the flight. We only have 57 guardians going on the flight. So we're matching up 2 veterans to 1 guardian in some cases, because both veterans are able to walk, so the guardian's not going to end up having to push 2 wheelchairs.
So if a veteran says, I don't have a guardian, that's not a problem, right?
No. I have got a whole list of people that would love to go, and we call these people a free agent guardian. That's how I got involved with the flight. I was a free agent, and so I got to meet the veteran the night before at the banquet, and then I spent the whole day with him and just listened to him. Because throughout the day, these veterans will start to talk, and they need someone there to listen to them. So even if they say, I'm fine, I don't need a guardian, if they don't have a guardian, we will match them up with someone.
And you said one of the highlights is actually when they come home.
Absolutely. The Delta County Airport, Delta County area does an amazing job in being at the airport for a welcome home when we land. For this flight, we are scheduled to land at 7:55 p.m., September 18th, and there's usually about 1,100, 1,200 people at the airport waiting for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is part of the whole celebration, right?
Absolutely. This is the welcome home that these veterans did not get. So often I hear the Korean and the Vietnam veterans say how when they came home, they were told that you do not wear your fatigues, you wear plain clothes. Especially the Vietnam veterans, they were not well liked, not well received, and they were simply doing their job.
Right.
They did not have that choice.
No.
You know, we enjoy the freedoms we have today because of what they did, and this is our way of saying thank you to them for what they did.
Well, that's a good program, and thanks for all the work you do to make it possible.
Thank you for having me.
I'll have some other thoughts for you in just a couple of minutes. You know, I've shared with you before the story of how my grandmother would send me to the grocery store when I was 10 or 11 years old. I would give my shopping list to the clerk, and he would run around the store, get the items I needed, put them in a bag, and I was all set to go. That was personal service. By comparison, the thought struck me the other day, and I wonder if you've considered this, but now you can go to a modern superstore, pick up a large order of groceries, and never deal face-to-face with any kind of clerk or person working in the store. You walk around and pick up the items you want, use the self-checkout, and leave the store. It's convenient, but it just seems so impersonal. But it's just one more example of how things have changed. So many people today are buying more and more on the internet. No need to interact with anyone there. It's just you and your computer, and probably some robots and computer programs at the other end. All of this got me thinking about how personal service and even personal contact has gone away. It's true you can still find it in some places, but it's not like it used to be. Speaking of how it used to be, I was thinking the other day about the man who brought dairy products to our home. I'm sure many of you remember the milkman, who would come to our houses delivering milk and dairy products every other day or so. Why did the dairy industry decide they would deliver their products directly to our house? Well, it goes back to the days before refrigerators, and many people at best had the old-fashioned ice box. So having a daily delivery ensured that if we needed milk, it was there. Fresh milk was available from the milkman every day if we needed it. It was such a nice service, which is probably why it continued even after the refrigerator arrived in most homes. According to one government report, about 30% of milk was still delivered to homes in the 1960s, but eventually the service just went away. Back in those days, it was also true that people would go to the stores specialized in products that we used every day. The bakery was the best place to get fresh bread and sweet treats, and the butcher shop could supply the meat we needed. Most of the things we purchased involved interacting with a clerk in the store. We got to know the people who worked there and often enjoyed the friendly conversation. Those stores are still available in some communities, but for many they have all come under the roof of what we know as the modern supermarket. Of course, that kind of personal service was not limited to the dairy industry and other specialty stores. Some of us can remember when you pulled into a gas station and an attendant would come out and fill your tank for you. Not only would he pump your gas, he would check the oil and usually wash the windshield. Ah, those were the days. I'll be back in a minute. The Today Show is coming up next. Remember, for news anytime, check out UpperMichiganSource.com. You can also find this show at that same address. Today's show will be available starting tomorrow afternoon. Thanks to Scott Knopf for joining us this morning. Honoring our veterans is a very worthy endeavor, and he and his organization have done a great job. And thank you for being here to hear our story. I look forward to seeing you again next Sunday morning.